Welcome back to Be My Guest. On my right, your left, middle, however you're watching the show, is the bodyguard, Jamie. Jamie usually joins me on Fridays when we like to talk about wrestling or any other aspects of life. Of course, to us, wrestling is real life. There's nothing more important than wrestling. And to prove that, to underline that point, yesterday we had Mike Mondo from the Ring of Honor, but today we've gone one step higher. We've gone after one of the champions, okay? Adam Cole, he's the TV champion. Adam, how you doing today?
I'm doing very good. How are you guys?
Good, good. Are you sitting there with the ring or with the belt around your waist?
Of course. Kind of at all times, I like to keep this thing with me. Like when I sleep, obviously I sleep with it beside me. When I'm brushing my teeth, I've got the belt beside me. I eat breakfast with the championship belt as well. Pretty much any activity that you can do with a television championship, I try and do. So, of course, for this interview right now, I have the television title around my waist.
Does it get any better than that, Jimmy? I mean, there's a guy who believes in the importance of being a champion.
He's living the dream.
He is, right.
Yep.
But no, actually, in all seriousness, no. Obviously I don't carry the belt with me at all times. But as far as taking it very serious, it certainly is something that I do take very, very serious, especially working for a company like Ring of Honor, where I take such pride in being a part of a locker room full of such talented athletes. Being television champion, for me, I'm only 23 years old, so this is my first major championship of any kind. So it's certainly something that I take very, very serious and something I want to hold on to for a while.
When we talked to Mike yesterday, and he touched upon just how he really is a fan of wrestling, and it doesn't matter what wrestling. It was enthusiastic just to hear him talk, like really, really, like if you didn't know anything about wrestling, he was selling the sport for everything that it is, the drama, the intensity, the physicality, and just his career and where, he was able to get in the business and establish a certain level at a time when wrestling was really changing, certainly with D-Generation X, and he was, part of the Spirit Squad. He's only like 29 years old, so you're relatively new to the business. Is every day in the business kind of like an eye-opening? He used the word like he's like a sponge just soaking everything up. Is that what it's like for you?
Oh, absolutely. I think actually, to me, that's one of the best appeals about pro wrestling is, even though you may know where you're going, you may know who you're wrestling, you may know who you're going to see in the locker room and in the crowd, there's always some kind of monkey wrench that's kind of thrown in your way, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that keeps you on your toes, keeps you progressing, and keeps the job very, very exciting. It's literally the best job in the world. It's literally an excuse to go all over the United States, in some cases all over the world. I've gotten to go to Japan and Europe and Mexico, and I have a tour of Australia coming up. So it's so neat to be able to travel and see all these places. And then not only that, you're surrounded by all these different people who have and share the exact same passion for pro wrestling that you do. It's very, very enjoyable.
I'm just looking at a clip of you right now, and honestly, when you and Mike get together, who has the better six-pack?
I'm going to give this one to Mike Mondo as far as consistency goes. Some days I wake up, feel like mine will be better, and sometimes not as good, but Mike Mondo consistently is just rocking that six-pack. He's one of the best, most in-shape guys in Ring of Honor, so I'm going to give Mike this one for sure.
Well, that's very generous. I mean, how many sit-ups would you do a day?
How many sit-ups do I do a day?
Yeah, how do you get that look, the six-pack? I mean, a lot of guys would do it through sit-ups. What's your routine to get that look?
Sure. Well, to be completely honest with you, as far as doing any kind of core exercise, I only do that once a week. But I will destroy myself for probably about 45 minutes. But the biggest key to it, to be completely honest, is diet. You want to make sure you have a good cardio regimen. You want to make sure you eat clean, and kind of your six-pack will then come in at that point. If you sit there and do 500 sit-ups a day, but you're eating McDonald's and sitting on your couch afterwards, you're not really going to accomplish what you're looking for. So actually, diet and cardio are more important to gaining a six-pack of any kind than anything else.
Go ahead.
Okay, Adam, congratulations on winning the championship. That was an incredible match when you beat Roderick Strong. And last week I saw you fighting, I don't know the man's name, but he had this weird Brazilian martial arts style. What was that like fighting him?
Yeah, that was Tadarius Thomas, one of the best up-and-coming guys in Ring of Honor right now. He's an unbelievable talent. To label him as a future star in Ring of Honor, I think is pretty accurate to do, because he's just exactly what Ring of Honor is all about. He's one of the most innovative guys I've ever been in the ring with. You could tell how hungry he is. We talk about Mike Mondo being enthusiastic, and that's one of my favorite things, again, about the Ring of Honor locker room. Each and every person in the ROH locker room, wrestling isn't their career, it's their life. It's the same with Tadarius Thomas, even though he's a brand new guy. Just unbelievable talent. The crowd has really taken to him really well, which is hard initially for some guys coming in. Not with TD, man. People accepted him right off the bat, so I'm excited to see what the future holds for this guy, for sure.
Yeah, I only saw him wrestle one other time. It was in a tag team match. But during your match, Matt Hardy came out, and he was saying how everywhere he goes, you are being compared to him as a young Matt Hardy. And then after the match, can you tell us what happened when he came to the ring?
Yeah, it was exactly what you would explain. Matt Hardy came to the ring and said, when that I was being compared to him when he was my age, and but more importantly, he wanted to make it very clear that he feels that he's better than me now, which was hard for me to understand, because to be completely honest, Matt Hardy is someone, irregardless of what he said, is someone that I still really, really respect. Based on what he's done and based on what he's brought to the table and what he's given to professional wrestling. So it very much surprised me that he came at me with those comments. And me being a very, very proud athlete, being the Ring of Honor television champion, I'm not going to sit back and just because it's Matt Hardy, let him say things like that. So the next time Matt Hardy's in a Ring of Honor locker room, in a Ring of Honor ring, you can rest assured that I'm certainly going to have something to say to him, and I'll be saying it directly to his face.
That's good. I mean, so it sounds to me like, you're very proud of what you've done. When I look at Ring of Honor, I look at a circuit or a promotion that has a lot of guys who were big-name guys at one time in their lives, and a lot of young guys who maybe aspire to get to the top. How do you look at your career right now? I mean, are you happy being in Ring of Honor? Are you looking to perhaps make it up to a higher circuit, or are you just trying to improve your overall, your wrestling, your technique, your performance in the ring, your work on the mic, the whole thing?
Sure, yeah, that's a great question. Because I remember initially when I first started wrestling, I had all these goals and all these ideas in mind of where I wanted to go, where I wanted to end up. At 3 months in, I wanted to be here. At 6 months in, I wanted to be here. And it's actually, in some cases, quite ridiculous because wrestling is so unpredictable. To try and predict where you're going to end up, you're just going to drive yourself crazy. So I no longer even set really goals for myself. All I tell myself is when I wake up every day, I'm going to do the absolute best that I can be to make sure I'm the best that I can be in pro wrestling. So whether that's be training or eating correctly or while I'm wrestling or studying tape or doing anything I can to kind of end up where I'm going to end up. I love being in Ring of Honor. I really do. This was when I first started, this was a dream of mine to work for this company, and now I'm getting the chance to. I would obviously love to continue and travel all over the place. And wherever I end up is where I end up, because as long as I'm, wrestling is my career and that's my job, and I can wake up every day and say that I'm making a living through professional wrestling, you will never see me without a smile on my face. I'll be the happiest guy you'll ever run into.
That's when...
Well, so on Saturday you're going to be fighting diehard Eddie Edwards. How's that match going to be? And me and Perry are going to be there, so we'll have your back. So there better not be any Truth Martini or Brutal Bob coming to the ring, because we got your back.
Oh, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Wrestling Eddie for the television championship is going to be awesome for me. Because very rarely in pro wrestling are you put in a situation where you're wrestling an opponent that you really have no ill will towards whatsoever. Eddie's a guy that I really, really respect. He's a great friend to me. And in some cases, this is kind of an underlying. Ring of Honor hasn't really acknowledged it. But, he was probably the biggest mentor to me of anyone in Ring of Honor. He's a guy that really showed me a lot. So me and Eddie are going to go into Toronto and Mississauga and just tear each other apart, like Ring of Honor athletes do, and it's for the television championship. And the best man's going to walk out the winner, and obviously not to sound cliche, but I feel like I've been on quite a roll, and I feel like that guy's going to be me. I'm sure Eddie feels the same way, but irregardless, the Ring of Honor fans are going to get one hell of a matchup.
Were you up here last June for Border Wars?
I was, and unfortunately, I walked away as a loser. I wrestled Michael Elgin in the Battle of the Breakout Stars, and Michael Elgin happens to be challenging for the world title against Kevin Steen, which that also is going to be one heck of a matchup. I think if anyone could beat Kevin Steen right now, Michael Elgin's the guy for sure. So I'm very proud of Michael, and he definitely deserves the spot.
And he's a local boy too.
And he is. It is. I'm sure the crowd will be super behind him. Kevin Steen, obviously, also being up from that area. So we should get a very interesting dynamic from the crowd. It'll be interesting to see how they receive both men. But irregardless, I'm sure the crowd's going to be going nuts.
Yeah, it's one guy's from Toronto, another guy's originally from Montreal, so we can have the whole Montreal-Toronto, like when you talk about battle of wars or whatever, right?
Right.
Border wars, there's one between Toronto and Montreal. Tell me something about the difference between being a face and being a heel, and which one do you enjoy more? Have you ever had a chance to be a heel?
Oh, sure. Actually, at one point in my career when I first started out, I much rather preferred being the heel. For me, it was much more difficult to get a large group of people to really like me than it was to hate me. And obviously that makes sense, too, to you guys as well. Getting a large group of people to hate you is a much easier process than getting a bunch of people to like you. But actually starting to work for Ring of Honor, that really put me in a position where I had to learn how to be a babyface. So now I really enjoy getting to do both. But for example, here in Ring of Honor, I'm a babyface, obviously, and then for a top indie promotion out in California, I'm one of the top heels out there. So I still get lots of chances to be a bad guy, which I also very much enjoy. You get to be so creative and so innovative with what you do, and I kind of like to take a charge like that, so I really enjoy that too. Pretty much anytime I get in the wrestling ring and get to be myself and be creative, I'm always having a good time.
How much time would you spend just working on promos and just basically working on the stick to perfect that aspect of the business? Because so much of wrestling isn't always about what you do in the ring and about your skills and the technical side. It's can you cut a good promo? Can you get over by doing that sort of thing?
Sure. I did do a decent amount of practicing in the mirror and, on camera and things like that. But I think actually one of my biggest things that had helped me with promos was I would watch the stars, the guys who really were money-making promo guys. And I wouldn't watch it for the lines that they used or the things that they said or the catchphrases or anything like that. I would watch it more for things they did that make their promos seem so believable, that made the person watching go, oh, I want to go buy a ticket and see Dusty Rhodes, or I want to go buy a ticket and see The Rock or see Steve Austin. And it was things like their body language and things like the look in their eyes and the leveling of their voice. Sometimes it would get high, sometimes it would get low, just like how you would talk to somebody if they were angry or sad or happy. And you would see these guys and you would watch them, and somewhere in your brain you would go, okay, I believe that they're acting, but somewhere in their body they have to believe this. And if you got people to think that, that's when you got them hook, line, and sinker. So I would watch these guys and the way that they would talk to these people. And now every single time I go out and talk, I try to make my promos as believable as possible, to where if I can get the audience to think that Adam Cole is really thinking this way, then I've got them to believe in my promo. And I think that's the biggest key for guys succeeding in promos. It's not ever what you say. It's just being very, very believable in your delivery, and then therefore you will, hopefully get the people involved in what you're saying.
There was an incident the other night on Monday Night Raw in which CM Punk got into an altercation with a fan. And sometimes, to me, what is interesting about wrestling is how sometimes, the show conflicts with the reality. And he's going over as a heel and trying to get the audience all worked up, and then people are saying things to him, and he he lashes out there, and there's an incident, and now there's a whole big controversy now. When you're a wrestler and you're out there in the crowd or near the crowd, how are you able to sort of separate yourself from the job you're doing, which is essentially acting, from the reality that these people are perceiving and then something like that happens the other day? So how are you able to sort of avoid that, particularly when you're being a heel?
Sure, yeah. Obviously that must have been a tough situation for Punk. just being out in that kind of mass of human beings and people getting up close to you and falling into you, and you don't know if they're attacking you or you don't know if they're just accidentally falling into you because there's so many people. But for me, again, too, I do, even though I'll be in that zone where I'm in that mode of like, okay, let's do this thing, I do also have that switch in my brain, too, where it never completely goes on to where I could never see myself going into the crowd and beating the snot out of a bunch of people, like fans or anything. And not to say that's what Punk did, because, you know, Punk obviously felt threatened, and I ended up hitting the wrong guy, I think, as well. I'm not too sure. But it was just a crappy situation for everybody, kind of. But, you know, again, kind of to answer your question, is even though this is what I love to do and this is my life, this is still a job. So I by no means ever get into a zone so much to where I feel like I've lost control of myself or anything. So I don't see myself being put in that situation or getting into that situation. But again, you never know. We don't know what was going through CM Punk's head. He could have very much felt threatened, and there was something that we didn't know about. There was dialogue that could have been said. So, yeah, it'd be very interesting to get the entire full story on that situation.
Well said. You're going to be fighting against Glory by Honor 11 Saturday night at the International Center in Mississauga. That's how we call it here. You and Mike are both going to have to work on that. And you know what we should do? We should have like a internet radio TV championship belt.
We should.
We should, right?
Yeah.
And because Mike and Adam were so kind enough to be on our show, let's create the match. We'll put those two guys in the ring together. If you and Mike were to fight, who wins?
Well, actually, me and Mike just fought in Chicago, and I walked away as the winner via figure 4 leg lock. So I'd have to go with me on this one. Mike Mondo can get the Better Abs championship, and I'll get the TV championship and the Internet championship. How about that?
You got the belt.
That's right.
That's
the
it.
belt's all that matters, right?
Yep.
He who carries the stick is the strongest.
Yep.
What's the expression? He who carries the belt wears the belt?
Yep.
Good for you. Adam, it's been I gotta say, both you and Mike have been a treat just to hear you guys talk about wrestling. As I said, I love wrestling. Jamie loves wrestling, and just to have the chance to talk to you guys, to talk about the business of wrestling. You know, as I said, the fun side of it, the serious side. Wrestling is cool. It's one of the coolest things around. Anybody that says it's not cool and it's fake and all that stuff, forget it, because it is so real. It's more real than anybody knows. And I just love the fact that you guys are enjoying being in wrestling, being performers, and just living the life. And you know what? Best of luck to you. Best of luck Saturday night in your match against diehard Eddie Edwards. And I hope when it's all over, you're still wearing that belt around your waist.
Eddie Edwards needs the luck.
He does?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he wasn't on our show. I don't care.
No, he needs the luck because Adam's going to beat him.
Oh, you're already telling us ahead of time.
Adam's going to beat him.
But he's going to have it's going to be a great show.
It is. Adam always puts on a great show. Ring of Honor always puts on a great show, and I hope you stay healthy and safe. And
what do you think about that, Adam? We're just giving you tons of props there.
Yeah, guys. Yeah, thank you so much. It's very much appreciated. It was a pleasure to come on the show today. You know, I appreciate the support, obviously, for come Saturday, because I'm going to need it for a guy as good as Eddie. And yeah, thanks for coming out. Thanks for coming to the show Saturday. It's going to be awesome. And once again, much appreciated.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Adam Cole, Ring of Honor, Saturday night. It is Glory by Honor 11 at the International Center in Mississauga. And, the show is being heard around the world, so we have to say that because some people pronounce it differently. But anyway, looking forward to that card. Jamie and I are going to be there. I don't know if we're going to be doing some nefarious, dastardly deeds behind the scenes. Could
be.
We may even have some of that dirt or something like that and throw it in somebody's face to see if we can get a reaction. Wrestling's cool. It's fun. We enjoy it. We're going to switch gears a bit here. I may even have to boot off the bodyguard over here, although I never like to be too far away from him. Just in case any nefarious things or any kind of things that can get me any kind of lawsuits, defamation lawsuits. I don't want to have that sort of thing happen to me. We'll be back right after this. There's no one left to cheer.